So you're lying in bed at 3 in the morning and you're staring at your phone, waiting for them to text back. Your stomach's in knots. You know you should be sleeping, but you can't because everything in your body is screaming that something's wrong, that you need to fix this, that if you just say the right thing, or do the right thing, everything will go back to how it was during those perfect moments. And here's the thing, you're not crazy. You're not weak. You're not broken. You're trauma bonded. And I need you to understand something right now. Trauma bonding is not the same thing as love. It's not even close. But it feels more intense than love. It feels more consuming, more urgent, more like you'll actually die without this person. And that's exactly how you know it's not love. Because real love doesn't feel like you raise suffocating and drowning and clinging to a life raft all at the same time. Let me tell you something nobody talks about. The reason trauma bonds feel so powerful, the reason they feel more intense than healthy relationships, is because your nervous system is literally being hijacked. You're not addicted to the person. You're addicted to the cycle, the highs and lows, the breakups and makeups, the way they pull away and then come back. Your brain is getting hit with dopamine during the good moments and cortisol during the bad ones. And that combination, that's the same neurochemical cocktail that keeps people hooked on slot machines. You're not in love. You're in a biochemical loop that's making you feel like you need this person to survive. So let's talk about what this actually looks like, because I'm willing to bet you're sitting here right now thinking, okay, but how do I know for sure? Here's what's really happening when you're trauma bonded. First sign, you keep defending them to everyone in your life. Your friends are worried. Your family's concerned. Maybe even your therapist is gently suggesting that this relationship might not be healthy. And every single time someone expresses concern, you find yourself jumping to defend this person. You explain the context. You justify their behavior. You tell everyone about the good moments, the times when they're amazing, the reasons why it's actually not as bad as it looks from the outside. And here's the uncomfortable truth, you're not defending them. You're defending your decision to stay. Because if you admit that everyone else is right, if you admit that this relationship is damaging you, then you have to face the terrifying reality that you might need to leave. And leaving feels impossible. Second sign, the relationship feels like an emotional roller coaster that you can't get off. One day they're telling you you're the love of their life. They've never felt this way about anyone. You're perfect. You're everything. The next day you're walking on eggshells, trying to figure out what you did wrong, wondering why they're suddenly cold and distant and treating you like you don't matter. And then just when you're about to walk away, just when you finally had enough, they come back. They apologize. They explain. They give you just enough to pull you back in. This isn't passion. This isn't intensity. This is intermittent reinforcement, and it's one of the most powerful psychological tools for creating dependency. It's the same principle that makes gambling addictive. You never know when the reward is coming, so you keep playing, keep hoping, keep waiting for the next high. Here's the part that hurts. Real love is consistent. Real love is stable. Real love doesn't make you feel like you're constantly auditioning for someone's affection. And I know that sounds boring compared to what you have right now. I know that stability might feel like it's missing something when you're used to intensity. But that thing you think is missing? That's called peace. That's called safety. And your nervous system is so jacked up right now that you've started confusing chaos with chemistry. Third sign, you've lost yourself in this relationship. Think back to who you were before this person. Think about your hobbies, your friends, your boundaries, your standards, the things you said you'd never tolerate. Now look at where you are. You've probably shrunk yourself. You've probably changed your opinions to match theirs, canceled plans to be available when they want you, ignored your own needs because their needs always seem more urgent. You're so focused on managing their emotions, predicting their moods, keeping them happy, that you've forgotten what makes you happy. This is what trauma bonding does. It makes you believe that your worth is tied to whether or not you can make this person love you the right way. Fourth sign, you feel anxious when things are good. This one's going to sound weird, but stay with me. In a trauma bond, you're so used to the chaos, so conditioned to the cycle, that when things are actually calm and good, you don't feel relief. You feel anxiety. You're waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're hypervigilant, analyzing everything they say and do, looking for signs that the good period is about to end. And sometimes, you might even unconsciously create conflict because the tension feels more familiar than the peace. Your body has been trained to associate love with unpredictability. So, when things are stable, your nervous system doesn't read it as safety. It reads it as the calm before the storm. Let me tell you something else nobody talks about. Trauma bonds often form with people who remind us of our earliest wounds. If you grew up with inconsistent love, with a parent who was sometimes warm and sometimes cold, with an environment where you had to earn affection or walk on eggshells, then this dynamic feels like home. Not a good home, not a safe home, but a familiar one. And our brains are wired to seek the familiar, even when the familiar is painful. You're not staying because you're weak. You're staying because on some deep, unconscious level, you're trying to heal an old wound by finally getting this person to love you consistently. But here's the truth. You can't heal childhood wounds through adult relationships with people who hurt you. You can only re-traumatize yourself. Fifth sign, you've had multiple breakups with this person, but you keep going back. You leave. You swear it's over. You block them. You tell everyone you're done. And then, you're back. Maybe they reached out. Maybe you reached out. Maybe you ran into each other. Maybe you just couldn't stop thinking about them. And every time you go back, there's a part of you that believes it'll be different this time. They've changed. You've changed. You both understand each other better now. Except it's not different. The same patterns show up. The same fights happen. The same hurt gets inflicted. But the trauma bond gets stronger with every cycle. Every time you break up and get back together, your brain is learning that this person is irreplaceable, that no matter what happens, you always find your way back to each other. It starts to feel like fate, like destiny. But it's not. It's just a pattern you haven't broken yet. Sixth sign, you're staying because of potential, not reality. You're in love with the person they could be. The version of them that shows up sometimes. The one who is sweet and attentive and makes you feel like the most important person in the world. You keep thinking that if you just love them hard enough, if you're just patient enough, if you just figure out the right way to communicate or the right way to support them, they'll become that person all the time. But they won't. Because that version of them, it's a glimpse. It's a moment. It's not who they actually are in a consistent, sustainable way. And you're sacrificing your present reality for a future fantasy that isn't coming. You're not in a relationship with who they are. You're in a relationship with who you hope they'll become. And that's not love. That's a painful form of hope. Seventh sign, you feel like you can't function without them. This is the big one. In a healthy relationship, you love the person, you enjoy being with them, you miss them when they're gone, but you still have your own life. You still have your own identity. You can still function, still feel okay, still move through your day. In a trauma bond, it feels like they're oxygen, like you can't breathe without them. The thought of them leaving triggers actual panic, not sadness, not disappointment, panic. Your body goes into fight or flight. And this isn't because you love them so much. It's because your nervous system has learned to regulate itself through this relationship. You've become dependent on them for your emotional stability, and that dependency feels like love, but it's actually just your attachment system being completely dysregulated. Here's what's really happening. In healthy love, you're to hold people choosing to build something together. In a trauma bond, you're two wounded people using each other as band-aids for deep pain. And the relationship becomes about managing the pain instead of actually being happy together. So, what do you do with this information? Because I know some of you are sitting here recognizing every single sign, and you still don't think you can leave. And I get it. Knowing you're trauma bonded doesn't automatically give you the strength to walk away. But it does give you something important: awareness. And awareness is where change starts. You have to understand that breaking a trauma bond is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. It's going to feel like withdrawal. It's going to feel like grief. It's going to feel like a part of you is dying. And in a way, it is. The version of you that believed this relationship could work, the version that kept hoping and trying and sacrificing, that version has to die for you to become who you were meant to be. But here's what I want you to know. On the other side of this, there's a version of you who feels free, who feels calm, who knows what real love actually looks like, who doesn't wake up anxious, who doesn't spend every day trying to manage someone else's emotions, who isn't shrinking or defending or justifying or explaining. And that version of you is waiting for you to choose them. You don't have to leave today. You don't have to have all the answers right now. But you do have to stop lying to yourself about what this is. This isn't a love story. This is a trauma pattern. And you deserve more than spending your life trying to turn pain into love. So here is my question for you. What would your life look like if you weren't spending all your energy on this relationship? What would you do? Who would you be? Where would you go? Because that's not a fantasy. That's what's actually available to you when you finally choose yourself over the bond. The truth is, you already know what you need to do. You've known for a while. You're just scared. And that's okay. Fear doesn't mean you're making the wrong choice. Sometimes fear means you're about to do the bravest thing you've ever done. So feel the fear. Let it be there. And then move anyway.